Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's football and pro wrestling and all that kind of good stuff. But it is midweek. It is Wednesday, so it's Pro Wrestling Weekly. The only show that doesn't take an international break, not like all that football and stuff like that. Tonight, I'm joined by a long-time friend. Must be at least 20 years at this stage. This man mosed into my shop, and I think the first thing he asked me to order was either, if my memory is right, either a Jericho Sexy Beast top or a John Cena Word Life top, both the ringer versions, of course, if my memory serves me right after 20 years. Folks, welcome Bren Reid, Bren, to the show. Bren, how are we?
Niall, thanks a million. It's brilliant to be here. And actually, I actually remember I tell the story sometimes of the first day in the shop when I walked in. I looked at you and said, "What's your name?" You said Niall Hogan. I said, "Get the hell out of here." I said, "See this face? Get used to it. Get used to it." And I did. And I think I thought I freaked you out a bit. I gave you a hug.
No,
I
that's
probably
okay.
held on. I probably held on for a little bit longer than I should have. But I was like, "Yes, this is the way."
Absolutely, yeah. So great having you on the show. As you know, we've spoke about this quite a lot. And of course, you were doing this kind of gig way before I ever was. So if you want to give people a bit of background, you did the radio show for a while and all that kind of stuff. Give people a little bit of background in terms of wrestling and all that kind of stuff before we start the show.
Yeah, well, I've been watching wrestling since the late 80s. Basically, I never stopped watching, even when it was uncool to watch on the road. They'd be like, "Brian, are you still watching the wrestling?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm still watching the wrestling." And the radio show that I did was called World Wrestling Revolution. And that all started when I worked in a shop called Extravision. Some people probably Extravision's a bit of a far memory for them, but we used to rent DVDs and rent videos and all that. And the presenter, one of the main presenters, that's where I met him. We started talking. He worked for Anna Livia FM, which is now Dublin City FM. World Wrestling Revolution was born. We went out every week. And then I'd say after about a year, I kind of drifted away from it for one reason or another. But yeah, I've always wanted to come back to it. And who knows, the door's still open. And that's why I'm absolutely delighted to be here. So yeah, been watching wrestling ever since, and like that, I pop into your shop periodically, and that's where I picked up my John Cena t-shirts from day one. I've been coming in getting the John Cena t-shirts and like that Chris Jericho, the Sexy Beast. I still have that one. Doesn't fit as much as it used to, but I still have it. Um, but yeah, no, that's a bit of my background anyway.
Yeah.
It's something that I've always loved.
Yeah, well, brilliant. Listen, great to have you on and stuff. Dan, like I said, you're welcome anytime, any week, anytime you want to come on. You know that, I know that. Let's get into the chat for a second. Shadow players here. Kenobi, you little cheat, changing your name. Hey, Noel, it's Kenobi just under a new name. There we go. Jedi Knight there. Don't forget to join us tomorrow night, folks, 9 o'clock for the Thursday tier talk. We will be going through Trent Alexander-Arnold and what it means, especially to me as a Liverpool fan. But we get Darren's thoughts and we get Kenobi's thoughts as well. Good old Real Madrid. Forgot to update my profile pic. Been watching too much. I thought you would have updated it with Trent Alexander-Arnold at this stage. Noel, did you see CM Punk get mad at a female? I did. Did you see the
Yeah.
background to it and stuff like that? The background to it is she's been trying to cause a bit of hostility between herself and AJ Lee, and they're kind of pushing for an unsanctioned match at WrestleMania. There we go. Apparently, so I read or something. If that was male doing that to a woman wrestler, he'd be told to leave and crucified on X. No doubt. Noel, I need to visit your shop, buddy. I hope you give your friend Kenobi a discount. Always, always, friend. Always. My mum still watches wrestling and she's nearly 60. I'm 27, so she's ahead of me. She's seen the greats. She sure did. Fair play to her. Absolutely. So, like I said, folks, we have a great show there. Make sure you're subscribing, hitting the bell notification button, and dropping a like on the video as well. We're going to take you through Raw as we always do. We're going to have a look at the Mania card and how we feel about it and how the card is kind of shaping up through the shows each week and stuff like that. And will we get that? Will we get that ladder match for the IC belt or a variation of it? What will happen? Are we going to get a three-way for the women's? How will it all play out with Rhea this week coming and stuff like that and all? We're also going to get your thoughts on the Slammies as well. So we're going to get down through the Slammy categories and get you in the chat to pick out your things. We're also going to be talking about Mox and Cope and that That nasty. I don't know what you would call it, like something out of Mad Max Fury Road or something stuck in his back. We will talk about that. We will touch on Homecoming, but I'm not going to go too deep into it because obviously Sean isn't here, and I'd like Sean to take us through that. But we will scan down through. It's safe to say Pete Dunne returned to OTT to a fantastic reception, and of course a groundbreaking show as well in the famous Ambassador Theatre, right in the heart of Dublin City Centre. Really great moves at the moment from OTT and stuff like that, growing and getting bigger and bigger all the time. So great to see it. And I did promise I would take a look back at the pricing of WrestleMania tickets down through the years. And safe to say, even though I'm heading off to Vegas, I kind of wish I was back in the 80s, to be honest.
Even
Just
the
saying.
tickets.
Just saying.
There was a screenshot today of a deposit that you can put down on the Dublin SmackDown show. $250 deposit, and included is a meet and greet with Sheamus. And that's just a deposit. So it's a bit out of hand.
So we're thinking the deposit's probably going to be somewhere between 30 to 50%. So you're probably looking at somewhere 500 upwards.
Yeah.
Absolutely
insane.
Crazy. Although I did get something through last night if I wanted to book a VIP table in the Live nightclub for the after party WrestleMania. Myself, the Usos, and Machine Gun Kelly had the privilege of a shared VIP table for $500 each.
At all?
And I might get to see maybe the Usos and Machine Gun Kelly. Likelihood if it's a shared VIP table, I'm going to be way back. But it's absolutely insane on the pricing. Acers is in. Trent did absolutely right thing. FSG has no ambitions compared to Real Madrid owners. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. That's tomorrow night's topic, not tonight. I've been listening to Pierce, the failed sad songs after saying the broke up for us. Yeah, absolutely. If I spend 10k on WrestleMania tickets, my girl would have my bags packed. Some guys out there who'd like their girl to pack their bags and would do it. There you go. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But let's get into it. Let's talk Raw because this was a very interesting one. A lot of huge expectation for this Raw in Glasgow on the back of Brussels last week, which was outstanding. So this week's Raw, Brent, give me your thoughts on the kind of thing. Does mixed views on this at the moment? I thought the crowd were kind of flat a bit. I didn't think they were great. I think out of all the crowds that we've seen on the European tour so far and the PLEs, this was probably the worst one. But there you go. But obviously reserve judgment a little bit till we see the Dublin show and see how that goes. But give me your thoughts on Raw this week overall. Cena came out, did his thing. What's your thoughts on that, first of all, Cena Rhodes?
I'm loving the Cena Rhodes feud. I think it's brilliant. I think what John Cena is doing is it's incredible work. It's kind of like old school bad guy mentality. He's just cutting old school promos and it's perfect. He hasn't even taken down Cody yet. He hasn't even addressed Cody yet. He's just walking away, and it's brilliant because when it happens, it's gonna be incredible. So I loved what John Cena's doing. I love his little interactions with the fans as well. He's walking down and he's stopping and he's staring them out of it, and some of them in full Cena gear. Do you know what I mean? Standing in front of him, and the kids, God bless the kids. But I thought the opener was very good.
I kind of felt he did the Glasgow fans up a bit of a kipper there compared to the Brussels fans. I thought the promo in Brussels far outweighed this one. Okay, this week he finally mentioned 17. He finally mentioned Ric Flair. How'd you feel about the mentioning of Ric Flair? Are we getting a little Easter egg there? Is Flair going to come into this equation? Obviously connected with Cody Rhodes through his dad and the history of both of them down through the years. Is this an opportunity? Does Ric Flair get involved in this somewhere? Is that what they're hinting at, or was that just a side swipe at Dusty really into Cody?
I think Ric Flair is getting involved 100%. I think it'll be similar to last year's WrestleMania, in my opinion, where you're going to see a lot of a few old school faces show up. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's in that this is how good this story is. I couldn't tell you whether Cena's going to win or not. I couldn't tell you for certain if Ric Flair is going to show up. But the fact that he mentioned this week is a good sign. But I like what he's doing. He mentioned in the promo, I'm going to ruin wrestling. And for years, that's what people have been saying. You're ruining wrestling. You're the worst thing to happen to wrestling. It's incredible what he's doing. And I do think Ric Flair, I do think Ric Flair is going to be involved. And I love Ric Flair. He's a lunatic. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenobi's in here. Finn hasn't won a singles match since September 24. I think that's a mad stat. I think I read the other day as well, he's won 3 matches since 2023 or something like that. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Yeah, but we will talk about it. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, I just kind of felt this kind of felt like an in-between kind of show where they'll give you a little bit of snippet, but they're not going to do too much. But I did feel like if I had been there, I was a little bit disappointed that I wasn't in Brussels, maybe, but still, there's so much still to go through and stuff like that with both these boys. And well, I'm sure at some stage it has to get physical as well, doesn't it?
I think next week in London's going to be big. There's rumors of The Rock showing up next week in London, and not every show can be as explosive. And like that, I do think the Glasgow crowd were, and I'm not dissing them, but I do think they weren't as strong as the other crowds. The other crowds are more hungry. WWE have been to the UK so very often, but like I said, it's to me, it's one of the best stories that we have. And I think next week with The Rock potentially showing up, I also heard that this is John Cena. Next week is John Cena's last booking before WrestleMania, which sounds a bit mad.
Interesting. Yeah. Not really, because we're 3 weeks out. We're not that far out now, Yeah, we're 3 weeks out. Yeah, this day 3 weeks. Well, sorry, just a little over 3 weeks, really, because this weekend will be 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even at that, even if next week is his last one, Cody carries it for the 2. Something has to happen then in London, and that's the other thing as well. With is there a third guy? The Rock's hand gesture would indicate that there might be a third guy. And if so, does that third guy show up next week? Does he show up at WrestleMania? Does he counter Ric Flair? There's so many directions they can go. And even if John Cena doesn't show up for the remaining 2 weeks, it's still a brilliant story. What they do next week will determine how much excitement there is going to be towards it added on.
It's mad how it has shuttled back to the way it used to be, where we got so excited about the next week's episode. Like, here we are on a Wednesday doing a show thinking, what's going to happen next Monday? This is the way it used to be for us when we were so engrossed in it, so really, really good.
Just on that, Niall, do you think that now is the best story time for WWE? Is this the best storytelling they've ever done? Because there's been feuds. Jericho and Shawn Michaels in 2008 comes to mind, where he punches the wife and all that. I think it's a bit later than that. There's been feuds that have been brilliant, but there's stories everywhere, and I'm invested in so many stories. Has there ever been a time like this?
I don't think, like, we can talk about the Attitude Era, we can talk about the Golden Era, we can talk about all these different things. The product has evolved so much and has changed so much in terms of, and we know so much now. We literally know what these guys and girls nearly have for breakfast at this stage, you know what I mean? Which was years ago, you would have never seen that. But I think in terms of interest at every level, I think, there's a case for that, all right, because, like, there's no one even on Netflix. I don't hear of people skipping through Raw. I hear people when they come into the shop, when they talk to me about Raw or WrestleMania, they seem very interested in everything that's going on. It's not just Cena and Cody. There's a lot of other stuff going on in there as well. I would say there's been a little bit of a drawback in terms of the triple threat, if you want to call it, Reigns, Rollins, and Punk. Last week, I don't think really hit the straps I thought it would, but I think they'll definitely make up for it this week. That's for sure. But that's the kind of wave in which it goes. We'll park that for the moment.
Yeah.
Because there's so much still to get through, obviously. Great to see the Usos back again, beating A-Town Down Under, which was really, really cool. And then obviously the worked slip into Gunther worked really, really well. Jimmy kind of with the save. And then what is it with these Samoans? They love clattering people across the face. Another slap, just like Mania last year. What a clatter from Jimmy on Gunther in the corridor.
That's probably the best clatter I've ever seen on television. I'm not messing. It was incredible. But you know what? Just on that as well, I would have liked to see Joe Hendry instead of the brother, and then basically him bump into the brother after it. I know this story wise, this is better. It kind of fits into the story a little bit better, but you could have had the best of both worlds. In saying that, Jesus, that clatter was incredible.
This is Big Up Everest. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, there's a US one as well, Everest, if you haven't been tuning in. You need to get back in, man. It's hot at the moment, you know. But it was kind of weird, the way he just walked around the corridor, and it kind of it's like as if they're kind of devaluing Jay a little bit where they can and dampening it down, as if they don't want the expectation to be. Because you look at a lot of these matches going into WrestleMania, we will talk about them. A lot of them are we kind of in a roundabout way know where they're going to go. Like, we kind of feel they're going to push the button on Jay and he's going to get his moment at WrestleMania and get the belt. But I think in the way that they're booking it through to the match, which hasn't been appealing to a lot of people, people have felt it's flat and kind of crappy. But I think they're doing that in a way that maybe they're dampening down our expectations, maybe that we might suddenly switch and think maybe Gunther's keeping the belt and it might happen on Raw or something like that, you know. So I hope they don't, obviously. But I think this is one of these ones where the build-up won't be as good as what people wanted, but the match will probably deliver. And that's my kind of outward thinking on it at the moment. But yeah, it was a cool segment and stuff like that. And it was great to see the Usos back together again. And we kind of knew it was Jimmy. There was no secret there, like, you know. So, but there's something special about when the Usos are together. They're arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, tag teams that's ever done it and stuff like that, you know. So pretty cool. Women's Intercontinental Championship, Lyra Valkyrie defeating Raquel Rodriguez. Bailey obviously getting involved, Liv Morgan getting involved, all this kind of thing. And what's your thoughts? I suppose, on the Intercontinental Champion so far? Not Lyra, but the belt and how it's come in and the way they've booked it.
I think with everything else, with everything being so big on the show, it's kind of like, and it's not the women's fault, but it was kind of a bit flat to me, to be honest.
The third guy is Kevin Hart. Imagine. Oh, God. Not a bad show, actually. But imagine.
Magnificent. That would be magnificent.
Where would wrestling be without a heart involved in it, huh?
100%. But the Lyra Valkyrie, I think, so one of the lads in one of the chats that I'm in says she will likely lose it the night after Raw. And maybe, I really like watching her. I think it would be cool for her to try maybe get elevated into the championship scene. But the women's Intercontinental belt, I don't think it's their fault necessarily. I just think it's a bit lackluster at the moment. That's just my opinion.
I think the problem is they brought in the two women's, I won't call them mid-card belts out of respect, totally, you know what I mean? But I think they brought in the two new belts. And I think they've brought them in at a time where a lot of the fans are distracted by a lot of other stuff and they find it hard to focus on it. And I think that might be part of the problem. But I think Lyra's fantastic. I think she's done great. And she's one of our own. So, like, we are biased in that. And we're shameless about it. There's no doubt about it. She's a great girl and stuff like that. And I think she's brilliant. And I kind of, do you know what it is? I kind of have enjoyed her work more when she was chasing that spot. You know, when she was moving towards that spot, you know. So maybe if she does drop the belt, potentially at Mania or on the Raw after, I want to see what they're going to do with her now. Are they going to elevate her and push her into maybe a world title then and stuff like that? Because they obviously have a lot of faith in her, putting it on her the first time and all. And especially against the likes of Natty and stuff like that and all. So pretty cool. Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, all three girls looking absolutely fantastic. But this week in, week out, move this, move that, brawl this, brawl that, slap this, push that. It's kind of got a little bit jarring. So obviously it's going to culminate next week. Rhea Ripley's going to face Io Sky for the belt. They're hardly going to do a belt change 2 weeks before Mania, are they? And then
I don't think.
I think Io retains here, but I think she retains in a way maybe where Bianca gets involved, causes Rhea the match, and then Pierce obviously feels, look, I have to include her. You've screwed her over, and we get a triple threat. Ultimately, I think that triple threat probably lands with Bianca Belair. Do you think that way, or are you thinking Rhea? Or
I hope not. I hope Sky retains. To be honest, realistically, I don't think they're going to put it back on Rhea. I think you're right with Bianca. I think turn Bianca heel and let her run with let her have a heel run with the belt, and then that accumulates somehow down to Jade Cargill. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you're right there, Kenobi. It's incredible, and like some of the stuff he's putting out there, CM Punk is really, really good. Even when he was on the announcer's desk there 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, and he starts giving it all this, and he's calling the two boys two bald frauds and all this kind of stuff, and all he's really ratcheting it up, and we still don't know what this favor is and what's going to come out of this. So certainly he has his hook big time. Do you think the massive mark for himself? Goldberg interferes in the Jay and Gunther match to set up a Gunther versus Goldberg? I would hope not.
I don't think so.
I would hope not, because the damage that might do to Jay would be crazy. I think what happens is I think Jay wins the belt, and I think Gunther may head towards that direction with Goldberg, away from the match.
Where does Jay go next?
I'm not too. The likelihood is probably, I would assume, Braun Breaker probably pops the IC belt. That goes out to someone else. They go off with that, and they elevate Braun into the World Heavyweight title picture, and you get a kind of a Braun Jay run to SummerSlam and whatever it is.
Brilliant.
Ultimately, I would say Braun Breaker being a World Heavyweight title. He's awesome. He's legit. He has it all. Has everything that you want in there and stuff like that, intensity, all that kind of stuff. So maybe that might be the way they go with it. The fear would be that they go the way they went last year, and you get the bro versus bro kind of thing with the, I'm jealous of you kind of, the usual story kind of thing. And then we get another super kick party, and we don't want that. I have to say, I am enjoying El Grande Americano. He defeated Dragon Lee and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And I am really liking the way we're getting a nice flavor of lucha on the show again, with multiple characters, not just Rey Mysterio, as if that wasn't enough. But this is really cool. This stuff Gable's doing is awesome. Spoiler alert. A lot of people don't think it's him, and obviously El Grande Americano, someone is going to eventually show up when Gable's in the ring, but that's just the way they run the story. But it's very cool.
The video package was outstanding. It was absolutely tremendous, of his history and how he was blacklisted. It was just, it's amazing stuff.
These are the best video packages and graphics and camera work and everything that WWE has ever done. I mean, their presentation is phenomenal, and even going to Netflix has just ratcheted it up even more. It's unbelievable. The women's IC has been defended more than the women's tag titles. Can we get rid of women's tag titles? They're useless, like a chocolate ashtray. Yeah, it's just the problem is you get rid of the titles, the tag titles, and then you have a bunch of girls there with nothing to push for. It's just the problem that they have at the moment is, and it's that they're a victim of their own success. They've so much talent now, and they just don't have enough show. They just don't have enough show. That's why you're finding, even going into WrestleMania, you're going to get a lot of, triple threats and fatal four-ways and potentially ladder matches or whatever it is now. It's they're trying to fit everyone in. I mean, you think about it, 3 weeks to Mania, and we've got, 7 matches roughly? And 2 of those aren't even fully declared yet.
No.
So let's see what way it goes. But yeah, absolutely. Sheamus gets the IC. Then Jay versus Braun. Yeah, there we go. Nothing wrong with that. Gable gives me attitude there, Kurt Angle vibes. He does, doesn't he? Very much 100%. So. Put his own little stick on it as well, which is cool. Big up, Daz. What's the crack, Noel? Vince is on dark side of the ring. Yeah, I've seen that. We will be going through that. We will do a review each week of them and all, but it'll be kind of, the first one I think releases tonight. So we won't see our release last night. We won't see it till tomorrow or whatever it is, but we will do little reviews on them and stuff like that. And we'll track them each week. They did put out a full thing on it, so we'll go through that next week as well. I think the first one is the first one they think they left. Yeah, it's the Hell in a Cell, isn't it? The toss off the cage, basically. Yeah, which is outstanding. Let's round this out. CM Punk addressed Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. We kind of spoke about that. And Breaker defeating Penta by disqualification. The Judgment Day getting involved, trying to convince Penta to jump ship. I wonder, is this a setup for when Rey Fenix comes in? I wonder, are they going to be able to convince Rey Fenix to come into the group, and that sets up then the feud between Rey and Penta coming in there. Maybe Penta Penta waving the good lucha flag while Ray Fenix is raising the bad one. I wonder. But it was an interesting end to the segment. Pretty good. Dominic is just electric, isn't he, Dom? He's so good.
I actually genuinely, people are probably not going to like this, but I think Dominic he's already much better than his dad. I know you're a Ray fan, but in my opinion, Dominic, the heat that Dominic has got, and is continuing to get, and he's brilliant. Everything he does is everything he touches turns to gold.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
He could be the highlight of a show without even having to lock up or throw a headlock on. Just in his mannerisms and the way he does stuff. And like, even when you see some of the videos they put out there when they're walking around the cities and all this kind of stuff, he just has it down and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a light bulb went off and he goes, oh, this is the business. You know, because remember when he started out first and he was tagging with Ray and all, and we were going, this seems a bit crap. You know, this seems a little bit pushed, a little bit crap. And then he just found his position, and his position was somewhere between heel Eddie Guerrero and just electric Eddie Guerrero. And he's kind of found it and stuff like that and all. And I have to say, I would like to see him do a little bit more wrestling, but I think he's just he's so good at even selling that weak heel beat down kind of guy and stuff like that as well, you know.
And he's go on,
yeah, no, far away.
He's into even his interviews outside of wrestling. They've been brilliant. He has an interview with your man Chris, who interviews all the wrestlers, and they talk about his dad, and he's like, which one, the deadbeat or Eddie?
Yeah.
Everything like that, or the Logan Paul one, where he asked Logan Paul if he's ever been to Japan. He's dead wide to the business. He knows what he's doing, and he's a joy to watch.
Absolutely. Let's take some more comments. Kenobi's in. Penta has been booked well. I hope Phoenix joins Judgment Day and there we go. You read my mind, I'm telling you. Also, Phoenix is going SmackDown, I heard. Don't know. I'd like to see a kind of a cluster of those luchas working each other, because I'm a big fan of Dragon Lee as well. I think he's excellent. Dom has come a long way since the blonde hair that his dad. Is it true? Absolutely. Little did we know, you know. I still have the shirt in there in the wardrobe. I'm your pappy and all. They're all in there still. You know what I mean? It's mad to think this little kid with blonde hair, angel-faced, has spawned into this kind of greasy looking Mexican heel. It's mad, isn't it? Like, he just looks amazing. Like, you know, even the hair, the whole thing. Well, let's park Raw anyway. I thought it was a decent episode of Raw. I thought it was pretty good. I think it laid some of the foundation in there. Still a lot of work to be done, but I thought the one thing we have to remember when these shows come to our cities or whatever it is, it's like the crowd is nearly on trial. And if WWE sees a dip in that, you could be a while before you get a show again. Because they've so many options now, especially around Europe and stuff like that, you know. But yeah, let's park that. Right, let's talk from what came out of that then, WrestleMania. We'll probably have to take a bit of a stab at this in terms of looking back to SmackDown as well. We spoke about Gunther and Jay, so we don't go into. Delighted to see Orton and Kevin Owens. That's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And Kevin Owens is such a dynamic performer. I mean, he can just give you that intense, aggro, angry Canadian type of guy. Or what he can do is he can stand there and look like the dopiest idiot in the world when Orton's pulling the promo on him. And when Orton goes deep into that psychological stuff, and Owens is there looking like the skill kid in the yard who goes, I should have never picked this fight. But yeah, he'd absolutely murder you, you know that way. Yeah. I don't know what Kevin Owens is doing as well. I looked at him on SmackDown. I don't know whether it's the camera work or whatever it is. The guy looks like he's getting younger by the day. He just looks like
he hasn't changed.
If he shaved that beard off, he'd look about 20.
He'd look like his son.
Yeah,
like his son looks exactly like him. But Kevin, like you said, he goes from that, and then when he was doing his funny stuff with Jericho, like you said, dynamic, and everything he touches again has turned to gold. He's been one of the best to watch since he came in.
Yeah, out till Friday and Monday. Yeah, it's going to be electric. It's going to be electric. London getting spoiled, getting absolutely spoiled. If you're wondering what that noise was, there's 2 dogs on the bed behind me snoring their head off, by the way. Just in case you thought I passed wind. But there you go. What the three-way we kind of spoke about, and kind of like, where's this gonna go? And people are talking about Drew versus Priest, which I'm really liking the build up to. I'm surprised at this, that I was so interested in it, because I kind of felt both boys felt like they probably should have been in a bigger spot, but they're really making their match and their build to Mania feel really, really important, which is kind of cool to see, because both guys could easily turn around and go, well, these guys are getting all these top spots at Mania now, we shouldn't give a damn, kind of thing, but they do. They're putting the work in, and it's exciting. Do you feel there's more to come from this three-way? Where's it going to go? And like, what does it lead to? Does it need a stipulation? Does it need more put into it? It kind of feels, I'm looking at these 3 guys and I'm thinking, CM Punk's after returning. He's back in there. He's absolutely electric on the mic. Roman's come back in. Couple of kind of snidey heel attacks. Still very good psychologically and all that kind of stuff, but doesn't feel like the bloodline Roman. And then you've got Seth in there. There's just a consistency to what Seth gives you, but you kind of generally feel you know what you're getting. What you're thinking on the three-way?
I think there's something missing, but I think it's to come. And I think Paul Heyman's favor definitely comes into it. They're not going to drag it out. I hope they don't drag it out any longer than WrestleMania. I think at that triple threat, it likely becomes clear as to what that favor is, or maybe after the triple threat. But there's definitely something missing from it. I can't put my finger on it. Where do they go from here? I think that's the brilliant thing. I don't know anyway. I haven't got a breeze who's going to win this. And it's a great time to be a wrestling fan as a result. Everything makes sense.
See some of the talk at the moment that Rollins could become a Heyman guy. Where would that kind of go? That, like, he owes Punk the favor. He's generally been with Roman. And all of a sudden now the talk and the booking is that he might exit with Seth.
That wouldn't make sense to me. I as if I'm booking the show, no, it just wouldn't make sense to me based on the characters involved. I think he's more likely to align himself with Punk again, if anything. But I can't see him aligning himself with Seth. But then I don't really see where Seth goes after this, because he's exhausted the CM Punk feud. He's exhausted the Drew McIntyre feud. It's a hard one to call. I think what lies on this match is what the favor is. And I think hopefully that becomes more clear either before it or it comes out at WrestleMania.
Yeah, absolutely. AJ versus Logan Paul as well. I'm really looking forward to that if they book that onto the card as well. The one thing I would say, though, is we need a real big performance out of AJ Styles at WrestleMania, because as brilliant as he is and as amazing and phenomenal as he is, I don't think he's hit his straps in terms of his WrestleMania legacy, the matches he's had on the Mania cards. And I think this is one that could really draw it out of him, because Logan Paul is such a bastard. He'll pull it out of you. He won't let you off the hook that easy, you know what I mean? And I think this is a real opportunity for AJ Styles to step out and kind of nearly re-announce himself that, listen, guys, you're all here with your belts and your legacies and all this kind of stuff, but I'm still phenomenal. I'm still AJ Styles, and I still need to be a part of whatever's going on gold-wise in this company. And I think that could be the case.
I think him and Logan could potentially, whatever night they're on, they could put on match of the night. Like you said, if AJ Styles pulls out the AJ Styles that we all know and love, Logan Paul, I think, has to go over, if I'm honest with you. I think Logan Paul has to win. But I think you're spot on. Again, there's something missing with AJ Styles as well. He needs that performance. I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, I think it was 38, I think we were at, and it was AJ Styles versus Edge, I think it was. And I was so excited for it. I was thinking, this is going to be the show stealer. Watch, guys. This is going to be unbelievable. And I was let down so much by it. And I was thinking, again? No way. But Gail Kim has been released from TNA. Can we see her as a coach at the PC Center? You might see her coming in as a coach maybe on the LFG show as well, which I'm really enjoying at the moment as well. Is really cool. Trying to fit in so much content at the moment. It's crazy. We kind of touched on the three-way for the women's belt and stuff like that. We feel that's how it's going to kind of go. don't see it going any way differently. What did you make of Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte on SmackDown? Obviously, the side by side interviews and stuff like that. I'm not a great fan of those.
Well, I think some of them might watch have been good, but this one I thought I don't like. I'm not a big fan of Bubba Ray Dudley, but I thought he hit the nail on the head. I didn't think that was not Tiffany's best showing. Tiffany should have done a lot better, in my opinion. Charlotte was probably a little bit better than what she is, but again, it was just it wasn't all there. Tiffany, it should have been better, and maybe the side to side should isn't the best format for them to. I think what they did the week before definitely overshadowed that. When Tiffany did the moonsault off the stage, that was incredible. And then to go from that to the little side by side interview, which, yeah, I didn't get much out of it.
I think the issue with the side by sides is that it's hard to get invested in this match because we've had Tiffany kind of being the heel with Nia Jax for so long, and now Charlotte's come in and she's getting that Jericho heel heat off the crowd because of the politicking and everything. So when you see the two of them there, they're kind of finding where they land and stuff like that. And because we potentially know how this is going to run out and we're not going to be happy with it, it kind of feels like people have checked out on it. If this wasn't, if this was a case where Charlotte's gone in there to build Tiffany up and Tiffany's going to get the big win at Mania, I think people might be a little bit more invested in it and a bit more tolerant of it. I think because we potentially know that, the Queen is back in, the politicking is back in, like let's be honest here, we haven't seen Andrade in weeks. We know what that's about. You know what I mean? So it's fairly obvious. So I think because of the way this is going to go, it's very hard to get invested in it. Really, really hard to get invested in it. And that's a real problem for me because unless there's kind of jeopardy to a situation, it's very hard to turn around and throw yourself into when there's so much going on. We spoke about obviously Cena and Cody. What do you make of this ladder? Is this going to be a ladder match for the IC belt? Are we going to get guys in there? People are talking about a fatal four-way. So for a fatal four-way, maybe Sheamus and Ludwig come out. If they don't, then we probably might get a six-man ladder match, like a kind of Money in the Bank style for the IC belt. But I think with the IC belt and the US belt, we're going to get a lot of opponents in this army, trying to get people on the card and make sure they're there. Not that they're not deserving of it. So could this be? I mean, we've spoke about obviously Sheamus. We want him as that Grand Slam champion to get that IC belt and stuff like that and all, which would be absolutely cool. But is this the time for Finn Balor maybe to launch himself onto the stage, maybe screw Dom out of the opportunity? We see the Judgment Day on the ladders. Dom gets sent flying, and Balor finally picks up that win that he's been chasing for God knows how long, gets the IC belt, and then carries it on. Obviously, that would be the end of the Judgment Day. And then we see what way they want to go, obviously, with Dom and Carlito and things like that and all. They're obviously canvassing for new members. So is someone going to step in? Is this where we see some sort of an interference with a Ray Phoenix? Is this where we see someone getting injured backstage, jumped on, and a mystery opponent gets entered, which could be Ray Phoenix? I'm not sure what way. There's so many ways you can book this and go about this and stuff like that and all. But the only thing I'm going to thinking is maybe it's Braun's time to give up the title and maybe jump to that next level, become a world title, a world champion or a world heavyweight or whatever, undisputed. What's your thoughts on these? I've always enjoyed the Money in the Bank matches at WrestleMania. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I actually thought they're gonna do, or I think they're gonna do TLC with the SmackDown tag teams or some kind of ladder match with them because of what's been going on with them over the last few weeks. And then I thought the Intercontinental was going to be a fatal four-way, but there's so many contenders, it could very well be that. What I would do is, personally, and this is bias, I'd give Sheamus his big win. I'd give him his Intercontinental belt at WrestleMania. Now, to what you just said, if Balor was to win it and then feud with Sheamus, that would be brilliant as well. That would be awesome to watch. And then have Sheamus win it off him eventually. But I like that. I would either way. I think we're looking at a cracker of a situation. Do I think there's going to be two types of ladder matches? Probably not. I would probably prefer I'd probably prefer the ladder match for the Intercontinental. I think that's the way forward. I think there's a lot more invested in that. But then on the SmackDown side, just again the tag teams, they're all over the place. It's really, really good, but they're all over the place. So I don't mean to bring that in. I know we're focused
No,
on
it's
the
all good.
Intercontinental scene. But to me, what I'd like to see is because they teased at the end of Raw, Balor looking at Dominic, will I, won't I? What's going to happen? So they're definitely breaking up, and there's going to be, and what somebody's going to leave. Obviously, in my opinion, that's going to be Baylor. But then, what do we do with the Judgment Day then after that? Is it
Well,
is it time? Is it time for them to go?
I see. I don't. I sometimes WWE and especially Triple H goes in a certain way that's against the grain, and he does it just to get up people's backs a little bit. So we all know the Judgment Day have been around probably 3/4 of a year longer than maybe they should have, but probably
100%.
since Rhea and Damien stepped out. But yeah, I did see that Maria May 1 year left, and she posted. Did you see the picture she posted as well of her? And she's standing there hugging one of the Triple H standees and all. Khan will not be impressed at all. Sheamus to win the ladder match. If it is, he deserves the Grand Slam. He certainly does.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, if this happens, folks, if his music hits, if his old entrance hits at WrestleMania, and you get the candles and everything else, I will lose my shit. I will lose. I'm such an Alistair Black fan. Unbelievable. The shirts. I might actually pack a shirt for the trip, actually, just in case. Yeah, but that's a shout. That is a shout.
That
Judgment
makes
Day.
sense. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
He should be the guy running the show. That makes 100% sense. And did they hint? Are they hinting towards it? Was there a video somewhere that I missed of Malachi Black coming?
Yeah, well, they've been dropping a few hints at a number of things, but it's quite confusing at the moment because obviously you've so many guys going out of contract and so many guys doing various different things and stuff like that as well, you know. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, shaping up to be a very, very good main. It'll be interesting to see how they structure the nights. A lot of these conversations are, well, what's going to be the actual main events and the co-main events. And I always say at WrestleMania, most nights, there's 6 main events each night. They're all, I mean, if you're on the WrestleMania card, that's a main event and stuff like that and all, you know. Yeah, I just want to bring in a slide here that I noticed I forgot because I think it's in documents. Do you hear this guy behind me snoring his head off?
I think the main events in WrestleMania, I think they have to bleed into the second night as well, like the force, like what they did last year. So so whatever happens on the first night bleeds into the second night. But yeah, now the card is shaping up.
Could you see a situation where the winner of the triple threat goes in to make Cody and Cena a triple threat or something like that? Can you see that kind of thing?
I don't see them doing that. I certainly see them trying to get involved because I think the Cody and Cena thing, they can carry that. But then, I mean, the third man, that this is what we touched on earlier on with The Rock, that third man, those hand gestures, people are going mad over them. That third man could show on the second night of WrestleMania, and maybe it's set.
Yeah,
that would be mental.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard people talking about the Shield and all and stuff like that, and I said, lads, with what's going on that other side of the tracks, Moxley ain't going back to WWE anytime soon, and we will get into talk about that. Trust me. Yes, we'll park Mania for the moment. The card keeps evolving, and as each week goes on, a little bit of snippets are added and stuff like that and all. But 3 weeks out, we've got 7 matches, which is just probably a little bit over one night. And these aren't all going to be on the one night either. So it's interesting to see what way they do it. Fernando's in. Big up Fernando. Spectacular Mania is going to take place soon. It certainly is. Rhea versus Bianca versus Sky should main event night 1. Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. The problem that you're going to have with that is then you get co-main event Jey Uso, and that's an issue, isn't it? Future match Howdy versus Black. The rivalry, I'm here for it. Not a bad shout. Have to see what they're going to do with that Y6. Cena versus Cody versus the winner of the triple threat is a horrible idea. Absolutely. I think if you've watched this podcast long enough, everyone knows my views on triple threat matches, and especially at this level of quality. And I think there's going to be a pile of interference anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Doesn't need it. I'll add Cross to Judgment as well with Black. Yeah, Cross with Black would be really, really good. Great shout. And this was the slide I was missing for some strange reason. I forgot to put it in, but obviously we got our Hall of Fame. I love the Hall of Fame. I'm pissed off this year, obviously, because they're trying to gouge us for tickets on it, which they really shouldn't. The Hall of Fame should be something that's held precious for fans who are committed to going to the shows and stuff like that and all, and they should be really looked after. But this week they added in the natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon. And it was brilliant to see the package they put together for it and how they spoke about how people do different moves that are natural disasters. And Bronson Reed said, where do you think I got the tsunami and all this kind of thing and all. Really, really, really cool. And two guys certainly going in there. Obviously, earthquake and typhoon. Give us your thoughts.
I loved the natural disasters. I loved how Earthquake got debuted. I'm old enough to remember Earthquake debuting as a member of the crowd, and I loved when and I was a big fan of Tugboat, and he broke my heart when he joined the Earthquake. But looking back, they're brilliant to watch. And actually, what comes to mind is if you look, if you haven't watched the John Tenta story, the Earthquake story. It's an amazing story. It's a brilliant story about how he got into the business, what happened then after it, because he went on to be Golga in the Oddities as an example, and he done other stuff as well. But yeah, I had the little figure, so I got the little the WWF Natural Disasters pack years ago, and I was overjoyed, delighted for them.
And this has been an interesting conversation. Lex Luger, Sting to induct Lex Luger, please. And there's talk going around about this where AEW wanted to do something and WWE said no. Will AEW be okay with it? I don't know what the contractual situation is there with Sting and stuff like that. They're also talking about DDP as well. Lex apparently wants both of them. And I think that will be kind of fitting and kind of cool and stuff like that. The work that DDP done is outstanding. And you can be guaranteed at this Hall of Fame that Lex Luger is going to be in a tuxedo and he's going to walk onto the stage and it's going to be fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Disappointed that it's not in the budget because everyone knows how big a Triple H guy I am. I absolutely adore and love Triple H. He's one of my tops. But certainly going to be interesting. Flair will induct Triple H. I'm not sure that's going to be the case.
Who inducts Triple H?
Has to be Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, the guys that asked him to jump on, but Shawn Michaels has to be.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. I think what you're gonna get is you're gonna get Shawn. I think you might even get something from Steph there. I think there's going to be a few people involved in that because obviously he's the headliner. He's going to be the last guy. There's going to be a lot of people involved in that because there's so many connections there. All of them as worthy as the next. Shawn is in there. You could argue Kevin Nash, X-Pac, any of the DX guys, there's going to have to be a lot in there because this is his Hall of Fame and stuff like that. And, it's a big one. And it could potentially be his last one in there as well, in terms of Hall of Fame. Many rings do you really want at this stage, But yeah, it's going to be a cool Hall of Fame. The makeup of it's really cool. It's very, very strong. Interesting to see who they put in next. We still have to get out, although Earthquake has passed and stuff like that. We're bound to get a single one in there as well. And I don't know, could it be Bray Wyatt? Who knows? Or could it be Sid they were talking about as well? We shall see. Regal for Hall of Fame next. Not a bad shout at all. Not a bad shout. But I think
well deserved.
I think they're looking at it as well, and it's getting a bit more. We didn't get a celebrity yet either as well, which is interesting enough. And we're in Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see what way that would go, So it's your hometown Vegas hero and their celebrity that's been involved and stuff like that as well. They normally do it.
Do we want a celebrity? I mean,
not necessarily do we want it, but it does kind of. It's not that it adds credibility to it, but it does kind of add to it, depending on who they pick. If it's someone that was involved in the business or had some involvement in it or something like that, then it's certainly worth it. When I think of cool, like I love I love Bob Uecker and Pete Rose and stuff like that and all. And I could see where they go in there. If you're gonna give me just some random guy who did a soundtrack for them back in '89 or something like that, I'm not really overly interested. Good shout, Liberace for Hall of Fame, seeing as it's Vegas.
Yeah, not bad. Or Jim Johnston.
Yeah, great show. Great show.
Yeah, Jim Johnston. He was the guy behind the music for
the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great shout. So stuff like that where you have real connections to it, that it's not just a token gesture, I'm okay with. But yeah, so just a shame I'm missing it. So I'll say they may change their attitude on the tickets, and we may still get to it with a bit of luck. Right, let's get into Slammy time. And we'll bring up our graphic for it, of course, because at the moment they're taking votes on WWE.com for the Slammies. Yeah. So nice to get your thoughts in the chat as well, folks. Let us know. We will start off with the women's one. So female superstar of the year: Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Chelsea Green, and Io Sky.
It's a great selection. I got the email today and I voted on it.
Yeah.
And I ended up going for Nia Jax. I just think her work, and I know not everybody's going to agree, her work's been brilliant. She's added so much to it. But then Chelsea Green as well. I was going between her and Chelsea Green because what Chelsea Green is doing is incredible. It's great work, but I actually went with Nia Jax, yeah.
Wow. They're two interesting shows now. I cannot see past Liv Morgan. I think Liv Morgan has had an unbelievable year. So for me, it would be Liv. Not to say that Rhea didn't either. I think Rhea's had a phenomenal year. Like, all these girls have been sensational. They're so drenched in talent and stuff like that and all. And, even talking, like, I mean, when you look at the girls down in NXT as well and what they're doing, absolutely phenomenal.
Incredible.
Male superstar of the year will have people divided, no doubt. So we got Cody, Roman, Gunther, CM Punk, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, and Seth Rollins.
That's Cody Rhodes all day. It's Cody Rhodes, not just because he's champ, because he shows up. He's at every event. I went to the Dublin live event there the last time. And it was one of the best live event shows that I've been to be honest, over the years. They seem to get a bit boring over the years, but it was brilliant. But Cody, just on the work that he's doing, he's a workhorse, and he just goes above and beyond for the company overall, and everything he touches, again, it's brilliant.
And remember that last show you were at, he had only wrestled the night before in Riyadh.
That's right.
Crown Jewel. So that will tell you. Most memorable entrance, I don't know whether to get down through this too much. There's a lot of stuff there. I thought Drew at Clash at the Castle was brilliant because it was a throwback to, such a throwback and stuff like that as well. Dominic and Liv and the Lowrider at Bad Blood is cool. Logan Paul at SummerSlam with MJK with Machine Gun Kelly. I don't know whether that should be on the list, to be honest, Sammy in Montreal with Jey Uso was going to kill. Randy Orton at the Bash in Berlin was super. Bailey at WrestleMania, Rock at WrestleMania was outstanding. Roman at WrestleMania was outstanding. Jey Uso on the Raw and the Netflix debut with Travis Scott was very, very cool. But again, you'd be hard pressed to look beyond Cody at WrestleMania, wouldn't you? Really? Just the reaction he gets and everything else. So we'll park that one because there's so many in the running there. God knows what way that's going to come out. Oh my God, moment of the year: Cody versus Roman match finish at WrestleMania. Dominic turning on Rhea with Liv Morgan at SummerSlam was very, very cool. Kevin Owens turning on Randy and Cody, which was excellent.
Amazing.
New Day was kind of cool, but is it up there? Tiffany's Money in the Bank cash in. I don't think it's an oh my God moment because it was teased so many times that when it eventually happened, it was kind of meh. Even compared to Damien's cash in on Drew, which was kind of really, really cool. The Wyatt 6 debut was cool on Raw. Braun Breaker spearing Ice Show Speed at the Royal Rumble. That was very cool. I really enjoyed that. 300 million hits in 24 hours. Bronson Reed hitting a tsunami on Braun Breaker onto a car. Bronson Reed tsunami off the top of the cage. Good lord.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, ended up breaking his ankle or something over it, didn't he? But still, to be on a table and to see a man that size coming at you from that height, good lord. John Cena turning on Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber, that has to be your moment, doesn't it?
100%. Because
Yeah.
even on the night, as somebody I've been a massive Cena fan since his debut against Kurt Angle, and even when he stayed in the ring, I had the hunch. I was like, is he going to? And then I was like, nah, of course he's not going to. And then when he did it, that to me, I can't look past that.
Yeah, this is barbershop levels, isn't it? This is Brock beating Taker levels. Not quite at, you know what I mean? But this is, in terms of that shock value, we never thought we'd get Cena as a heel. I told you. I had a whole lorry load of gear coming over Cena gear, like, and I was there going, oh my God, what am I going to do now, you know? I think Io Sky beating Rhea Ripley on Raw for the Women's Championship was a very interesting one, and certainly not one that we predicted either, but pretty cool. Here's an interesting one. Faction of the year. The OG Bloodline, the Judgment Day, the New Bloodline, American Made, and Damage Control. Let me know your thoughts when we get into this. Roll me. Male superstar CM Punk just for the Drew storyline alone. Yeah, not a bad shout at all. Memorable entrance, Rhea with motionless in white. Yeah, awesome.
That was a nice moment.
Yeah. She looked amazing in the white as well. Oh my God. Wyatt's for me, the whole setup was done to perfection. Yeah. I think what will go against that is, that oh my God moment, but it's just flattered to deceive now at this stage, you know what I mean? And it's just, what is it? The OG Bloodline 100% for faction of the year.
And with Shadow Play.
Yeah. Hard to argue with that. Although the Judgment Day have done some great stuff. I know some of it's been a bit long-winded and stuff like that. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed some of this stuff on American Made.
Yes.
Like if you think about it, when we were talking at the top of the show about how we're so interested in everything, and then you look at these categories here, you could vote for any of them.
Yeah, American Made.
Snoring his head off there. Can you hear him? Snoring his head off. He's like a human, like mad. Hey, wake up. Tag team of the year. We got DIY, Awesome Truth, A-Town Down Under, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, Motor City Machine Guns, the Bloodline, the War Raiders, the Judgment Day, the Street Profits, and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez.
The War Raiders. I love what they're doing. They're incredible. That's who I'm going with.
Yeah, it's not a bad show. Big guys who can move. And put it out there. Not a bad show. I do have to say, I am a Street Profits fan, though. I think those guys are incredible.
Yeah. What they're doing now is incredible. And I thought they were going to break up. About a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I thought they were going to break up, but no.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I'm with Shadow Play on this one.
Yeah, 100%. Right, where are we? Rivalry of the year. Punk and Drew McIntyre. We know where this is going in the comments anyway. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. Rivalry of the year. Bloodline versus Bloodline. Romy's in. He wants Montez Ford. Montez Ford solo is what I want. Don't know. They're holding off on it for the moment. Where are we going with rivalry of the year here? What are you picking?
This is why wrestling is brilliant at the moment, because, like you said a few minutes ago, you could almost pick two or three of them. And they've just all been brilliant at different moments and at different times. I'm going to go with Cody and Roman, though. I think what they did. But then CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, that Hell in a Cell match was one of the best I've seen in years as well.
Incredible.
And what McIntyre is doing at the moment, the best heels always tell the truth, and that's exactly what he does. And then CM Punk, what they did with the toolbox, the blood, everything. was incredible. But I think for me, based on the story and the ending of the story, I'm going to go with Roman.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, Punk and Drew, that culmination in that cage match and all was phenomenal. Talking about lads
Amazing.
taking time off their lives, unreal. NXT Superstar of the Year. I also know where this is going in the chat. Oba Femi, big fan of. Roxanne Perez, Trick Williams, Ethan Page, Julia, or Kalani Jordan.
Oba Femi.
Yeah, Oba Femi is like he's unreal, isn't he?
Different
I have to say, Julia's come in as well, and she's been sensational. Roxanne Perez has done a great job. Like again, look at that. Look at the 6 there that are picked. Like every one of them performing out of their skin, week in, week out. Never ever drop the ball. Really, like NXT is just phenomenal. You know what I mean? And only because it's come up so quick, and we're only now seeing the absolute pinnacle of Stephanie Vacour as well. Absolutely incredible, you know. I mean, she'll be nailed on for it next year, no doubt. NXT, Julia Noel, you already know. Maybe Vacour. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just, you know what it is? It's just Vacour has just come to the pinnacle just a bit too late for the voting. Otherwise, she's nailed on for it. For me, even before Obafemi or anyone else, I think she's sensational. Match of the year. Interesting. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. Roman Reigns and Rock versus Cody and Seth. That I wasn't mad about, to be honest. No. Liv Morgan versus Rhea at SummerSlam. Damian Priest versus Gunther at SummerSlam. Cody versus AJ Styles at Backlash. Not for me. 2025 men's War Games match was excellent, I have to say. Bayley versus Io at WrestleMania. Sammy versus Gunther at WrestleMania. Gunther versus Randy at Bash in Berlin was excellent. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk on Raw Netflix premiere. And you put Punk and Rollins together and it's magical.
It's magic.
Absolutely magical, no doubt about it. What are we going for here? This is really it's really between the top 2? I would say Roman and Cody or Punk and Drew in the Hell in a Cell. Hard to look by the Hell in the Cell, is there?
It is, and like I said, the feud of the year for me goes to Roman and Cody, but that Hell in the Cell match, I think, just pips it. I loved what they did for WrestleMania, but that Hell in a Cell match, they did everything. It just pips the main event to WrestleMania.
Sammy versus Gunther, loved it. Out of that whole list, interesting. That's a show. He might be doing that to wind me up because he knows I would rarely vote for it. For Sammy.
Boy, do you know what? Isn't it brilliant? You said it earlier on, and I would record Raw and SmackDown when it was on Sky or BT or whatever, and I'd fast forward through it. And I have the ability to fast forward through it on Netflix, but I'll watch every minute of it, and that's it. So every match you just mentioned there, I'd watch again. Incredible.
See, play me here. He is. Play me. I know he loved the Hell in a Cell match because we spoke about it on podcast. It was brutal. Brutality was insane. WTF, what the fuck moment of the year. R-Truth calls Triple H champion. Loved it. Anything with R-Truth at the moment now. Or I think he's mentioned a few things here. R-Truth wrestles with John Cena. Brilliant. Loved it. The Kevin Owens car interview. Chelsea Green goes into the dumpster. Cool. Dominic Mysterio in the shark cage. Very good. That's the one where he came out. Remember his leg got caught? Awesome. Really good. I Show Speed with Logan Paul at WrestleMania. Okay, yeah. LA Night in Logan Paul's pool. Yes. Rabbit noises from Tamatonga. Jacob Fatu, I love you solo. This was kind of like we didn't even know if this guy could talk. And all of a sudden this just came out, you know. And the Wyatt 6 debut. I think if you're looking at it from a visual thing, the Wyatt 6 debut was cool. But Dom in the shark cage, maybe. Is that where we go?
For me, it's Dom in the shark cage. I agree with that. But Jacob Fatu, he's magical. I love you. He's magical. He's the future as well. So
I seen a picture of him the other day from when he was slightly younger, and he'd no beard, he was clean shaved, and the hair gel back and all. And I was going, "Is this the same dude?" It was mad, so cool. Yeah,
I seen it. I
absolutely.
seen a video of him the other day in one of the indie feds, and a fan tried to get involved. And I don't think that fan will ever get involved in another wrestling match again. He just punched him straight.
You
It was
think they should know
fantastic.
better, wouldn't you?
He's a maniac, and he comes across as a maniac, and I
Yeah.
can't wait to see what he does over the next year.
I
And
loved,
another
I
guy,
loved. Remember the backstage stuff with the boogeyman and all, and he was talking to the boogeyman about how if you look at some of Jacob Fatu's entrance, there's so much of boogeyman in it as well. It's so cool. And they were backstage. I don't know if you've seen it. They were taking pictures with each other, him and the boogeyman and all. And Jacob Fatu was just marking out for the boogeyman, and it was awesome. It was so good, so good. Where are we going here? Truth 100%, yeah. Our Truth is just electric at the moment. There's another guy who doesn't have to slap a headlock on anyone,
no,
and still so over and so good. My mum loves Truth like a son more than me.
I still watch those videos, those break videos of our Truth in all of these scenarios where he's not meant to be part of the match and he shows up. I was like, you're not even in the match. The My Bad era was brilliant. I love that guy.
I thought the stuff he did with Pete Dunne is sensational as well. Hey, Butch and all this. Let's go for Butch and all. He's so good. He's just so good. It's excellent. Social star of the year. This is quite divided. I think both of these should probably get a Slammy. You know, Chelsea Green and Drew McIntyre. And to be honest, I can't separate them. Maybe they need a male and female social star of the year. Just give them a Slammy each. There's no way one of these should be getting a Slammy over the other. They've both been brilliant.
If it's between the two, and I absolutely have to pick, I'm gonna go. It's a hard one, I suppose, but I just love it. I love McIntyre on social media. He just some of the stuff he says is outrageous. It's brilliant.
He's just a bastard, but he's our one, so it's cool. But I can't separate it. I think Chelsea Green has been brilliant. The other week coming out there dressed up as Foley and all, and she's just brilliant.
What does she call her Secret Service? Slay. I only seen it the other day.
Yeah, the two of them dressed in the FBI gear kind of thing and all.
She's a genius.
And isn't it mad to think that we're only really seeing the depth of some of these even now? They've so much more to give, and it's phenomenal. Truth with Judgment Day was money. Yeah, absolutely. So good. So good. You could actually, funny enough, I'm surprised on Social Star of the Year they haven't popped Truth in there as well, because he's been sensational on social media as well. Some of the stuff he's posted,
especially about John Cena.
Yeah, oh my god! And we break out superstar of the year: Braun Breaker, Lyra Valkyrie, Penta, Obafemi, Julia, Tiffany Stratton, Jacob Fatu, Chelsea Green, and Stephanie Vacour.
Jacob Fatu for me all day. I think he's the future, and Lyra as well.
Yeah, again, so many of these. Look at the year Braun Breaker's had. He's been sensational. You know what I mean? And then Chelsea Green, Stephanie Vacour down there in NXT has been incredible. Breakout Jacob, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's hard to go beyond that. But again, you could be handing out so many Slammies on these things. It's absolutely unreal. Again, I'll pop up Homecoming here from OTT. We won't go through it too much because I am going to go through it with Sean. We'll go through it with Sean next week. But just looked like it was a great event, well put together. Some really good matches in there, as you would expect. We called some of them the Mile of Grace one, as being hinting at the Raven Creed stuff, so we knew that's kind of the way it was going to go. Good to see Renzo Rose back as well, obviously putting in a shift there as well. And obviously Pete Dunne returning versus Sammy D was sensational to see Pete back in OTT. And it's really cool the way OTT now, they still have the links to bring these guys back in. Never would we have ever thought about that WWE would work with these people, but it's in their interest to do it as well. Yeah, Jacob and Vacour second, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you could have Jacob there and you could have 5 seconds. I mean, they've all had such great great years. So hard to separate. It's going to be very interesting actually see how the voting goes. So we'll take a look at that when it happens and see how far off we've been. Myla Grace, my favourite from Marigold. I thought she was from Dublin, but she's from Belfast. There you go. Very, very, very good. So we won't touch on it too much. Quick one on the cost of the tickets. There you go, folks. Absolutely crazy. So we started off WrestleMania 1. Front row ticket prices, there we go. 1985, $100. And I can tell you back in 1985, $100 was a fair bit of money back then, you know. Funny enough, we've seen some of the Dark Side of the Rings and some of the documentaries where we've seen fans queuing up to get tickets and stuff like that. And also, $100 was big bucks then. But then we see how it elevates up into 20,000. You know, you went to 32.5 grand, which we all thought 2.5 grand for a ringside ticket. Boy, oh boy, what are you doing? How lucky we were. 38 was 10 grand. You know, 8 years later, 10 grand, 4 times the price. And then literally 2 years later, doubled in price. Now, that's a resale market one. This was taken as well by an article that MSN did, folks, as well. Not just my hard work on it and stuff like that. I always like putting in the logos as well because I think the WrestleMania logos when they're together like
they're the best.
And 41 then, they're talking about it being mega bucks. They have in here 50,000. I don't think it's quite that much, or maybe that's a reseller price or something like that. But I don't think it's that much. But it's probably not far off big bucks. So that it's absolutely crazy. TKO moving mad with the price like Diddy Oil. Absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. And not only that, it's not only the pricing of the big show, the granddaddy of them all. It's the pricing of everything else underneath it as well. That absolutely, like even the pricing on the World is insane. The fan access version, you know, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? So really are getting gouged at the moment from these things and stuff like that. No, want to get people's thoughts on this anyway. We have to talk about it. Cornette spoke about it. Russo, everyone spoke about it. We'll get everyone to give our thoughts on this now in a second. Just get that off my screen. What did we make of this? And I don't want to keep this on the screen too long because everyone knows I love technical wrestlers and I love wrestlers and stuff like that. And I don't necessarily love blood and guts. But this was rough. Look away if you're squeamish now. This was rough. It's had mixed responses, really. I listened to Dave LaGreca on Busted Open Radio with Tommy Dreamer, I think it was. And he said that he loves this when it's done right and how it's done and stuff like that and all. And that, you know, there's a time for it and stuff like that. I think this is insane because I think if this goes wrong by a couple of inches, this guy's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. If this goes into his spine, this guy has a beautiful wife. He has a kid as well, as far as I know. And I think it's crazy to be doing stuff like this. And, you know, so uncalled for as well. You know what I mean? So let me know your thoughts on it. It looks absolutely, you know, like it's you know, it does not poison on it or anything like that. It looks really clean. You know, all this kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like you see people when they have to inject themselves and how clean the needles have to be and how clean everything has to be. And this is just a yoke that was thrown in under the ring, stuck into his back. Now, I'm going to take it off the screen now because I don't want to look at it really. It's just, it's a rough one to look at. What was your thoughts on it when you're saying it?
It's so unnecessary. It wasn't needed. It didn't add any value. I didn't like it at all. I'm not mad on the hardcore scene anyway. And then it's interesting because this week we have the Dark Side of the Ring, the Hell in a Cell match with Mick Foley and Undertaker, and that you mentioned Cornette was talking about the spikes and all that, but that almost put forward a similar debate. Where's the ceiling? Where do we stop? Do we have to have somebody shatter their spine and Christopher Reeves himself and basically paralyze himself? It's not good, and for me it's unnecessary. And I like John Moxley. I was a big fan of Dean Ambrose. I thought he was going to be the breakout star of the Shield. I might have been wrong on that one, but certainly what Moxley and Edge did is unnecessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is again another one of these moments. I suppose there's two things to look at. We have Moxley here basically writing his own Dark Side of the Ring episode every week. And on top of that as well, then we have, this is one of these moments again where you look at, you know, so many people went into AEW thinking, okay, the money's really, really good. They're going to get looked after. But it's all about the creative control. And I was there going, this is why in WWE, wrestlers are not given that level of creative control. And we know the background to this as well with Moxley. He had loads of great stuff planned for the Lesnar match, and Lesnar basically told him to fuck off. He ain't doing any of it. And I could see why, because it's absolutely crazy. And it's a hard watch, you know what I mean? And especially when you've had a good show. Like up to that point, you have a really, really good show, and then they seem to do this. And we've seen it last year at times. You have a really, really good pay-per-view or whatever it is, or a big event. And the next thing, the lads are just pouring blood into their mouths, and you're just there going, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? And it just seems to be that that's the kind of stick at times in AEW where you can have a really, really good, solid TV show or a pay-per-view or whatever it is, and just that one match of that stupidity, idiotic way of going on, and the rest then is meaningless because it's just destroyed. Like even there a week or two ago when we looked at, was it Dynasty or whatever, Revolution it was, I think. Like the main event was just, compared to the rest, just an absolute waste of time, you know what I mean? So it was absolutely crazy. Big up Kenny, good to see you. Kenny's going to Vegas as well. So we're seeing Kenny over there. We'll definitely be hooking up over there to do a few things. Absolutely stupid to push an angle. Yeah, and it's just like, and there's so many ways to push an angle in wrestling and tell a story and come across. You see what WWE are doing, but it just seems in AEW, when things dampen down a little bit, out of nowhere comes this. And it's weird, you know, because you've other guys in there at the moment putting on wrestling clinics and wrestling really well and putting shows together and matches and all. Then the next thing, this just comes out, and this is the talk for 2 weeks then of what AEW has done, instead of Will Ospreay's match or Hangman's match or whatever it is, you know. So it's crazy, you know.
It takes
this
away
ain't ECW 1994 anymore. No, it ain't.
Shadow play is 100%. He's right, because it takes away from the show. But then also on top of that, like what does Moxley do next? It doesn't even develop Moxley's character really. It doesn't do anything for anybody, and all it does is, in my opinion, would take away the good part of the show. Nobody's talking about the good part of the show. Everybody's like, oh, the Moxley thing. And like that, some people are okay with it. I just did not like it at all.
And the real problem as well is Edge, see, because then you have Edge coming out then a day later or 2 days later going, I can't wait to work with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay and all these guys. In other words, I don't really want to be doing this shit. But unfortunately, they've given him the ball, so I have to run with the fucking ball. And that's it, you know what I mean? And it just feels weird. And like, you know, a shout out to Cope, you know, at the moment.
Yeah.
You're aging enough as it is. You don't need to add any more of that shit to your aging process at the moment, pal, you know. Big old Paddy, good to see you, pal. Thanks for joining us tonight. Paddy has a great channel as well for Man City and stuff like that. He's a big wrestling fan as well. We always comment on each other's content, and we always drop little wrestling kind of things in there as well. CM Punk is just fighting everyone these days. He sure is. He sure is. That was crazy as well, you know. And him looking going to WWE security. Do you not do that here? No, it was like, are you guys not going to do that? You know, because you know if he starts losing the rag and punching people, God knows. I hope them nails was sterilized. No, they weren't. How would it be sterilized when they're fucking under a dusty ring? Absolutely not. Yeah, Moxley only stands out due to extreme stuff, but not a great wrestler. Yeah, I don't know. He just, you know, it's just a weird one with him. You know, it's like forget about the Death Riders. What about the Death Wish? And like you'd have to wonder what's being said in the background. You know what I mean? Because he is so out there, and then you think like he's with Renee, and she's so beautiful and on the level, and seems like someone who has her stuff together. You know what I mean? As far as now, they have a kid as well, don't they, and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering when he goes backstage, does she not turn around and go, "What are you doing? I don't want to be pushing you around in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. What are you doing?" Like, you know what I mean? And it's mad. And then Tony Khan as well. I mean, what's his role in this? Where does he come in and turn around and go, right, lads, you have creative control and all that kind of thing, but this is not helping the process at all. But yeah, crazy. Didn't Hangman stick a needle in Swerve's gums? He certainly did, and then they exchanged blood, didn't they? They exchanged blood as well in the most weirdest way possible. And funny enough, since then, if you look at the shit that the guys got, they've both kind of moved away from that kind of thing now, and they're both putting on wrestling matches. So maybe the penny drops for some of them. How can Tony allow this on his roster's health? Tony doesn't care because he's given up creative control. Tony gets told.
He's a fan first, and that's it.
Edge needs to be a mid card. I don't know. I didn't like Edge. We've had Edge in the shop and all he's dropped in and stuff like that. And I've been a huge fan of Edge for years and stuff like that, going back way back. But I don't know whether the squeeze here is worth the juice. I know he's probably getting truckloads of money, but I don't know. It's just, I don't think I've enjoyed anything Edge did in AEW since Christian hugged him and told him to go fuck himself.
That's the best thing he's done.
That's been the moment for me, and that didn't require nails. It didn't require jumping off the top of a cage and breaking your foot. It didn't require any of that kind of nonsense that you don't do at 50 years of age, and that you get much smarter as your career progresses. And what's even worse? This is a guy who lost a load of years because of his neck and got cleared to come back and do it again, and had one of the best comebacks in WWE ever. That Royal Rumble or whatever it was sensational.
Amazing.
But then, I don't know.
If he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to end up the way Kurt Angle is today. Like when Kurt Angle went to TNA, he had some amazing years, but he's suffering for it today. It's mad.
Renee needs to pull Mox aside and say, knock it on the head. Renee needs to pull Mox aside and knock him on the head. Honestly, because it's crazy. Even Darby isn't stupid to do that Mox angle. No, and Darby does do his fair share of silly things as well. That's another guy who's not. These guys are always supposed to be thinking about career longevity as well. When you see guys like wrestling, look at Cena. Cena wrestling. What's Cena now? Cena must be close to mid-40s, 50s, whatever it is.
Close to 50s, yeah.
Look at the longevity. This is a guy who was a workhorse in the Ruthless Aggression era. Never missed a show, never missed a house show, never missed a pay-per-view. Every week showed up. He was the guy, whether you liked that era or not, he was there week in, week out. These guys just want to get broke up. I was mad Tony allowing my faves thing to jump off ladders. Yeah. It wasn't so bad he was jumping off ladders. It was the fact that the camera work was so bad that it missed most of the jumps. Remember the camera work was so bad at one stage that something would happen and they cut the camera then to the action, and it was like nearly a backstage jump where people jumped on someone and left them for dead. And you were going, there's a spot we're after missing. How many of those jumps did he do off the stage and the cameraman didn't catch it? So bad back then, so bad. Edge draws similar parallels to Brett. Ran his course in WWE, and when he left to join a different company, he just doesn't have the same appetite.
I don't know. I think that's a bit of a mad comparison to make. Brett's career was cut short from that kick from Goldberg, and then the Montreal screw job. But yeah, I think that's a bit of a mad comment to make.
I think the comparison is like, we knew Brett wasn't a WCW guy. It wasn't the move to make. And with Edge, we know Edge is not an AEW guy. It's not the move to make.
No.
So
yeah, fair enough, yeah. No,
that's probably more of that. If Mox is still walking when he's 50, I'd be surprised. He barely walks as it is. He's nearly horizontal walking as it is, Joe. Christ's sake. Crazy.
Well, you seen some of Mox's early stuff, didn't you? With the pizza cutters and all that. He's been doing it for years. It's...
He went to find a place. He went to find a place where he could do this stuff because he wasn't allowed to do this where he was. That's a fact. I hate that Mark Goldberg ended my boy Brett's career and got Saudi money. I'll tell you. Right, let's take a little bit of history. We normally do a little bit of history, Bren, at the end of the show.
Right.
For what's gone on this week. So we have a few bits, and we also do some notable birthdays as well. So it's always a bit of fun. So we're going to go all the way back to 2002. The first ever WWF draft took place this week on Monday Night Raw, as the roster was split in two between Ric Flair controlling Raw and Vince McMahon with SmackDown after the kayfabe split between the two business partners. The first pick in the draft saw The Rock picked for SmackDown before The Undertaker was selected for Raw with the second pick. There we go. 2002. 23 years ago. There we go.
That's mad, isn't it? If you say 23 years ago to me, it like my head goes back to the early 90s.
Yeah. 2002 looks like I was just watching it on video or DVD a few weeks ago.
100%,
It's crazy. It's crazy. Where's that time gone? 2020, of course. We have to go back. The cinematic boneyard match between The Undertaker and AJ Styles to be broadcast at the main event of WrestleMania 36, Night 1, was taped on location in Florida. The match was the last in the legendary career of The Undertaker before he announced his retirement later in the year. And if you've watched The Undertaker's documentary and stuff like that, you know all the background to that match and what happened and all the stuff he was dealing with and all. And it looked unbelievable. It was absolutely sensational. And probably a fitting way for the dead man to go out. I don't think you could top that more than what they did, to be honest. AJ was brilliant. I thought Gallows and Anderson were awesome in it as well. Really, really, really good. Right, 2001, on the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, Vince McMahon revealed on the live simulcast with WCW Monday Nitro, of course, and we know the story, the name on the contract, McMahon, Shane McMahon, and that he bought his competition member and he gives you the hands and all that. It's right here. He was so good back then. But that's what we got. 2001. That's 24 years ago. 24
years ago. And some people are saying history could repeat itself tonight in a storyline on AEW. I know it's a bit out there. I showed you in the shop the other day that it happens to be the same number episode that Nitro was on the same date.
Can someone just come into AEW tonight if it's Shane McMahon and take control of AEW and just take it away from John Moxley, and then it's all good. Then I'm all in. I'm back. 1988, the very first Clash of Champions event from Jim Crockett Promotion aired on free TV in the States from Greensboro, North Carolina. I watched this on TV delay 2 days later. 1988, there you go.
Am I right in saying that was the Survivor Series as well? Did Vince put the Survivor Series up against them on purpose? Was it something like that?
I'm not sure. I don't think that was 88. That might have been 89. I'm not too sure because I think they had to. It might have been now. They had to change the date, didn't they? Ric Flair and Sting wrestled a 45-minute time limit draw in the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. What a match! What chemistry Flair and Sting had. 1988. And then, of course, 1988, WrestleMania 4 took place in Atlantic City Convention Hall and was referred to on air during the live broadcast as Trump Plaza. Speaking of Donald, there you go. Which was the neighboring hotel and casino owned and founded by Donald Trump. The main focus of this event was a 14-man tournament to crown the new undisputed WWF World Champion. And, of course, we know the rest of what happened. And we know the background too and what happened with Andre and $1 Million Man and everything else and all. So it was cool at the time, but probably unflattering as a WrestleMania to have that kind of 14-man tournament. But again, unbelievable. Let's take some notable birthdays. And we start off with some interesting ones we have here tonight. So obviously, Lacey Evans, 1990, celebrates birthday this week. Lana, 1985. Epico, 1982. The Undertaker, 1965, has his birthday this week.
Wow.
1960, Barry Horowitz. These names will shake you out anyway. Gorgeous George, 1915. 110 years ago. Gorgeous George was born.
Wow.
Legendary referee who we lost, of course, Tim White, 1954. I had the privilege of talking to some of his neighbors when we went to the James Mitchell karaoke in Florida. That's where Tim lived, and a lot of his neighbors were at it. And we were talking to an elderly lady, and she was a huge wrestling fan. I'd say she was in her mid-80s, I'd say. And she went home to her house only around the corner from the bar we were in and brought back pictures of herself with Tim White and Andre and everything. All phenomenal. Amazing how you see things like that. 1986, So-Called Val. 1972, same age as myself, Charlie Haas, but obviously he's in much better shape at this stage. And we rounded out with 1967, the great Kenta Kobushi. Unbelievable. If you go back and you look at the wars he had with Joe in Ring of Honor and stuff like that, absolutely phenomenal. That rounds out your notable birthdays for this week and your little bit of history. Let's take some comments. Great show, Niall, and nice to meet you, Brent. There you go. Appreciate it. Undertaker did a Goldberg with the window smash. He did indeed. Shane will book himself like he did at the Royal Rumble if he came to AEW.
Would it surprise you?
Yeah, you might get that Moxley feel off Shane as well, just with less blood. He really needs to book a match where someone throws him through one of those windows and gets it first time anyway. Doesn't he fix that anyway? Yeah, that's for sure.
AEW to me is like a bit like CZW and Ring of Honor back in the day. It just doesn't compare to WWE at the moment, and it's not because WWE is the bigger company. They're just more focused on stories rather than moments. AEW is probably back in the Attitude Era. I'm going on anyway. I could go on about this all night. So apologies there. I waffled on there.
It's like where you're watching like WWE, and it's kind of like you're watching an action movie or a crime movie or a documentary, and then someone suggests to put on a horror movie, and you're cowering in the corner. You want to look at it, but you don't want to invest the time in it, but you still want to get the jump out of it, kind of thing, you know. So it's like, and look, I say it all the time. It's so important to have a contender. It's so important to have someone that's competing at whatever level it is. So important. We know down through the years, this is when wrestling's at its best, is when people are pushing you to do what needs to be done to stay where you want to be. AEW is like Bonnie Blue, anything goes.
Oh my Jesus. Shadow Play, what a comment.
There you go. There's comment. There. And with that, we end the show with that one, because you ain't going to get a better comment than that tonight. So listen, Brent, pleasure as always having you on. You're welcome back anytime you want to come on, pal. These are kind of like therapy sessions for us as well when stuff like the Moxley stuff happens.
Yeah, that was sleep tonight. Brilliant stuff. And anytime, I'm always available.
Yeah, brilliant. So big shout out to everyone in the chat as well. Kenny's there. Kenny, I'll see you in Vegas. Roll me, I will see you tomorrow night. We are going to be talking Trent Alexander-Arnold for a good bit of that show, that's for sure. And everyone else who was in there, Racers and anyone else who jumped in, Daz and all the others, Fernando and everyone. Who else was in there? Let's get down through it. Patrick, loved having you in the chat as well, Patrick. You ever want to come on, Patrick, let me know. Jump on anytime you want, pal. Everyone is absolutely welcome on the wrestling show at all times. Until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and of course, drop a like on the video. And you guys continue to comment if you want on the show when we've gone off, and I'll show us what you want for the Slammy Awards and stuff like that. We will be checking them back so we can have that bit of banter with you. But until next time, I'll see you tomorrow night at 9 o'clock with Darren. Bren, who knows, he might be back here next week with Sean. Let's see what happens. But until next time, folks, have a safe week. Enjoy the wrestling and don't go sticking anything into your back. Cheers, folks.